So if I thought Retro Puppet Master was pretty bad, I better just take that back and say that Puppet Master Legacy is one of the worst sequels I've ever seen. This is literally one of the worst sequels I've ever seen because this is an hour and 10-minute movie with probably 10 minutes of a movie in it with an hour of flashbacks from the first 7 Puppet Master movies. What? Like seriously? That I've watched this before and I thought the first time it was bad too the first time, but man, this was really really terrible. Truly terrible. I was just like there is nothing that I can give this movie really at all. Actually there are a couple tiny loose connections that I can give this, but the movie's still awful, so don't take that away from it. But the one thing, it's about this girl who comes into the Bodega Bay and is going to kill this new guy named Hurst, and they both tell the story of the legacy of the Puppet Master to Lon and all the other movies before this one, and it literally is pointless. But like the girl comes in to try to assassinate Hearst, but Hearst, this is the one thing I did appreciate, even though it was a very loose connection to the other movies, but I liked how it explained where the Peter character went from part 3, because he's in 3 and he's never shown again. And that guy, Hearst, is an older version of Peter. That was kind of a tiny cool connection. Tiny tad little cool connection. Besides that, the 10 minutes, I think it's got to be. I don't think it's more than 15 minutes. It's got to be about 10 minutes of new footage. But the 10 minutes of new footage, these two actors are terrible. The girl is terrible. She's got these big bug eyes, and she's always overacting, really intimidating. Like she needs to know Toulon's story. She needs to know, and like she is really bad. And the guy who plays the Hearst guy is kind of bad too. He's not as bad as her, but they're both pretty bad. So, yeah, she comes to the Bodega Bay to try to assassinate this guy who's got the Puppet Master power now, like the abilities, and he's got the puppets that are alive, but they tell the whole story. So this is literally just a recap. This movie is a literal recap of every movie. I guess you can argue that it's cool that it does have the timeline. Well, no, actually, I take that back completely. I was about to say that it makes it to where you can watch the movies in a timeline quickly in an hour. But they don't even do that. They don't even stay with that, because they do flashbacks at first to Retro Puppet Master, then to 3, because those 2 are in order. But then they go out of nowhere, just random ways of like showing flashbacks. I thought they were going to go in order of these movies, and they didn't do that. They didn't even show clips from part 5. Literally, they showed clips from 4, mentioned Rick. They said the girl said she killed him, and I'm like, well, fuck you. That's stupid that you brought that character up just to say you killed him. And then they didn't even mention part 5. They just mentioned part 4 and mentioned Rick was there at the Bodega Bay, and that's it. And then they show scenes from part 2 first before part 1, and then they don't show scenes from part 5, and they mention part 4 briefly, show a scene of Rick briefly, and then in part Curse they show that briefly, but they don't do them in order like they did the first 2. If they did it in order like Retro Puppet Master, then 3, then all the other ones, this would have, even if it would still have been awful, but it would have at least made more fucking sense. Like, this doesn't make any sense. After they do that, they just literally ham-fist every other movie. Just go, oh, this thing happened, but it didn't happen in order now. But they did the first 2 in order. Like, whenever they were, I was thinking that's how it was going to go through the whole movie. Like, they're going to do in order of how these movies played out. But no, they literally didn't. So, this is so bad. It just, I sat there and I didn't do this, but I debated. I'm like, I'm going to fast forward through all of these scenes, because I literally have just been watching all these movies again this last week, rewatching them all to review them, and I was thinking, I just watched all of these. Why do I need to see this again? And I don't know why I didn't fast forward, honestly. I don't even know why I watched this, honestly, besides the fact that they mention a couple little things, but they don't even amount to anything. This is just a recap, really just pointless and worthless of a sequel. Like, literally, there's nothing that gives this a reason to exist. for me, and it's even worse low budget because it just shows scenes from the other movies, and then it shows 10 minutes of these two actors in this movie, and they're both bad, and the way it's filmed is bad in those scenes. So this was just fucking awful. This is definitely my least favorite so far. That I'm rewatching these, and this is the last one I've seen. So the next movies after this, the Axis ones, and then the Little Strike, I have not seen. So I'm excited to see those, but this one just this was something to suffer through. Like, this was hard to get through. This was fucking terrible. I hated this one, but God, this was just one of the most pointless and worthless sequels I've ever seen for a horror movie. At least Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which does the same thing, where it recaps the whole first movie. At least that has some fun-ass, like, stupid scenes in it, like Garbage Day, like, scenes like that. But movies like this usually are just completely and utterly pointless, and this is one of the most pointless sequels I've ever seen. Yeah, so, fuck this movie.